me as you guys also drop your information in the chat so I can have a better read on the room, is I am a sophomore, a second-year student at Duke University. I am studying psychology with a minor in education, and I'm also getting a minor at University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. I'm a dual citizen at both in conflict management. So long-term, I'm looking to go to law school, and really what I love to do most is work with students in education. That's where my passion lies, hence my minor in education, hence why I'm here tonight. So really, what I'm hoping for you guys to get out of this session is what is time management? What are some concrete strategies to be able to manage your time? We're not going to just talk in abstract. We're actually going to pin down real life, real tangible, concrete tips, tricks, strategies for you to use. And also, since so many of you guys, I'm looking at the chat right now, we're kind of on the precipice of getting and starting your college careers. We have some seniors on here, sophomore, juniors. You guys are on your way. So wanting to make sure that you're just equipped with the resources to be able to be successful in any academic environment, but especially a college one. So yes, we're going to go ahead and get started. We can go to the next slide. And yeah, these are basically today's goals. I already mentioned them. And essentially, students that I work with, students that I provide sort of academic skills, etc. The goal is to not just get by in school. It's not just to survive. It's to thrive. It's to truly be successful and to really rise above. So that's what we're going to be working on today with these tips. So first thing that I would like to do, also, I'm probably going to be talking quite fast. I'm a fast talker in real life, and I'm also trying to manage my time appropriately, manage my time, so that I leave about 5 to 10 minutes at the end for you guys to ask questions. So make sure to ask questions, or else I'll be like, dang, I could have said more stuff. Okay, so getting back into the content, defining time management. Essentially, it means to appropriately allocate your time to tasks, different things on your to-do list so that you can maximize your productivity. And so essentially what I'm getting at when I say productivity, it's about putting your best foot forward. It's about producing quality work. Since we're speaking about an academic setting, it's about turning in good stuff that you're proud of and doing so in a way that is sustainable for you. As a college student, I don't even need to say as a college student, as a student, period, we are very stressed. We have a lot of things that we're balancing, and to make sure that we're able to put our best foot forward, but in a way that is not detracting from our well-being, that is not detracting from our sleep, our social life, our just ability to be normal, healthy, functioning human beings. That's the goal. We never want to be running on 0 hours or being like, oh man, I'm on my last leg here. We just want to make sure that we always have gas in the tank. So that's what I mean when I say sustainable. All right, so I've kind of alluded to this already, but we're going to go ahead and spell out what's the importance of time management. You guys know this. Time is scarce. It is limited. It's like if we're thinking about resources, this is one that is, it runs out. So essentially, we have 24 hours in a day. Most of those are, we have very little that we spend sleeping. For me, maybe 6 to 7 hours. I'm working on it. And then the rest, we're awake. But if you're anything like me, time always feels like it's escaping me. It's always a race against the clock because it's just always passing. And so being sure that through those hours that you spend awake, you spend operating, that you are getting as much done as you can, but in a way that, again, you're being productive, you're producing quality work, and that you're putting your best foot forward in all of those tasks. Also, students in general, we have busy schedules, but especially when you get to college, you're going to be quite overwhelmed with just the number of resources and opportunities and commitments and things to get plugged into. And it's just going to be, if you're anything like me, I tend to overextend myself and just have my hands in a lot of different pots, which kind of create a schedule that's full of just activity. And so making sure that every bit of free time that you have, areas in between meetings, areas in between X, Y, or Z, maybe work appointments, that you are using them to you're using them productively, you're using them fruitfully, and you're never wasting time. So how can time management go into this juggling act so that you can keep all your balls in the air, essentially? And also time management is important for this, especially here at Duke, but I think it's really in any college environment, any academic environment. You want to have this balance of the 3 S's: your school life, your sleep life, and your social life. That's kind of what's going to contribute to your success. And you don't want to forget why you are in school, why you are in college. You're there to get your degree. You're there to move on, open the door to the workforce, etc. So, academics are important, but so is sleep. You can't be successful in school if you're not sleeping enough. And you also cannot just be a functioning human being if you don't have friends or people that you're talking to. So, time management will help you customize which of those is the most important to you. If you're somebody that can function on 6 to 7 hours of sleep, this is me after a long day. I've been up since 6 a.m. and I'm still like super high energy. That might not be you. And so maybe you need 8 to 10 hours of sleep and something else has to give. But time management, again, will allow you to build that into your schedule. What is important to you of these 3 S's, and kind of keeping those in proportion to one another. All right. So to be able to talk to you guys about this, I kind of have to draw upon some personal experiences that I have with time management, especially as it pertains to my freshman year, so last year. And so I know that perhaps some of our older students on the call that are applying to college right now, some of you that are just like preparing, maybe you're taking your SAT or something like that. A genuine valid concern is maybe like, man, is like the workload going to be tough for me? Like, am I going to be able to handle this? I'm sure all of you are just shooting for the moon and want to go to really good schools. And so to think like, okay, in these prestigious universities, am I going to be able to handle it? Yes. That check that off. You do not allow that to be a stress on you. I know easier said than done. But I know I've heard that a lot of you are in the dual enrollment program, so are already currently taking college courses. That should not be a problem. And it's typically, if you're admitted to those schools, admissions committees know that you're capable of doing the work. What the problem is, where the pitfall is for a lot of college students, is that there is so much time on your hands. And so what I mean by that is, right now, you're used to sitting in a classroom for 8 hours a day, or give or take. You get to school, probably it's like 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Normal day, and you're probably taking 6-7 classes during that period, maybe a 30 minute to an hour lunch. And so that's the way that you're conceiving of school right now. And then you go home, you do your, whatever you do after school, you figure out homework in between. College is a different ballgame. Some days I don't even have class. Other days I might have one class. I might have class for 3 hours of one day. And then what am I doing with the rest of my time? And so where a lot of students get tripped up is I just had, an 8:30 to a 9:30 today, and the rest of my day is free. So how about I just go, play, go hang out, go shoot the breeze, and not actually get my work done and use my time effectively, efficiently. And so that's I kind of did the opposite, where this illusion of lots of time got me in trouble, because I was like, oh, I have like 5, 6, 7 hours today to do my homework. How about I write an essay and just take up all that time, even though that essay probably only needed to take me 2 hours. So it approached this point of, I thought I had more time. I thought I had this illusion of more time. And so I wanted to utilize that extra time that I, wasn't used to from high school to reach this level of perfection, to have not just a 91 in the class, but a 98, a 99. And so I was really, really focused on my grades and utilizing my time in that aspect. And then everything else fell through the cracks. Sleep, cracks. Social, cracks. And so, it didn't help that I started college in a quarantine environment. And so I was just very alone, didn't have a lot of friends. I literally ate breakfast, lunch, and dinner with my laptop. So you can imagine mental health was very low. And it wasn't a good time. So what did I do about it? We're going to find out on this next slide. Okay, so essentially, my winter break, my 7-week long winter break was, okay, Mackenzie, let's sit down and let's really figure out what your game plan is for this next semester, because you can't keep doing this. And so really what enabled me to kind of get out of that I'm just overdoing it with my work and really not utilizing my time efficiently. There's the difference between procrastination and then there's also just like overworking. And so I went and there's a center at Duke called the Academic Resource Center. I'm sure some other colleges have similar parallels. But essentially I met with an advisor who literally sat me down and said, hey, let's go through what's the appropriate amount of time you should be spending on XYZ assignment, on XYZ reading based on what your peers are doing, based on your teacher's expectations. And I also was networking with upperclassmen to figure out that golden sweet spot too. For example, for my psychology class, I was spending probably 30 minutes reading less than 2,000 words because I'm like writing down everything in my notes. And the upperclassmen were like, girl, that is not how you need to be studying for this class. Just read it, don't take any notes, and take the quiz at the end. And so doing things like that, learning from other people, helped me shave down the amount of time that I was overworking on certain assignments. And also what I needed to do for my own self is I needed to eliminate this illusion of lots of time. Like I said, having lots of time on my hands was what was getting me in trouble. So I was like, how about I add things into the mix so that I don't have this illusion. I don't think, oh, I just have 8 hours for the rest of my day to just do whatever. And so I ended up getting a job. I worked at the library for 10 hours a week. I got plugged in with the Duke mock trial team. And I also started being very intentional about just scheduling meals with people. I said, okay, every day I'm going to see somebody at least once. Maybe that's a dinner that I've scheduled, maybe that's a lunch that I've scheduled, but I need to get out. It's not fun to be best friends with your computer. And it's just not healthy. And so I also, this kind of goes back to what I was saying that the Academic Resource Center told me about, was evaluating the expectations of the assignment. How you're going to get familiar, especially after your first semester, first couple of weeks in the class. How a teacher is grading something. If they're grading it for completion, if they're grading it for certain, details, if they have a rubric. You can also ask your peers, how long are they spending on doing certain assignments? When you are somebody like me who is submitting an 800-word paragraph versus everybody else in the class was submitting 300 words and we all got the same grade, I'm obviously doing something wrong. So figuring out the expectations and then holding yourself accountable to accomplishing those goals and sticking to that no matter how hard it is. And like I said, I gave the psychology notes example, and what I ended up doing was exactly what those students told me. I would clock myself. I'd say literally I'm not spending more than 15 minutes on this section, and I would set an alarm. I'm not done by that point. We're turning the page and moving on. So that was my way of just being disciplined and again, not overdoing it. All right. Another thing to just note, especially as it pertains to just entering a college environment, is everybody is taking different courses. Right now, your course load is a little bit more similar to your peers. You kind of have the same core classes in order to graduate. It's a lot easier to compare yourself to, hey, what did you do to get on this test and stuff? Not saying that I recommend that, but especially when you get to college, we're all majoring in different things. We're all studying different things. We're all taking different classes. So there is literally no point in saying, hey, like, how's everything treating you in school? Because typically, it's just an incomparable experience. And so days that you have, really tough days or really tough weeks with your midterms, that might happen at another point in time for somebody else. So typically what I found is that asking other people like, hey, are you stressed right now? And then them telling me no, just only made me more stressed. So I just avoided asking at all. And also there's also this thing at Duke, it might be at other colleges too. I feel like it is. It's probably just a human thing. Is everybody wants to come across like they've got it together, like they've got it under control. None of us do. And so there's this duck on water analogy of, you see this duck floating across the surface of the pond, super serenely, looking like, oh, everything is cool. And then under the water, you see how hard the duck is working. Its feet are just paddling away to get this guy to move across the water. And so that's how people want to come across. They want to come across as serene, like everything is, in order, intact, but really they want to conceal how hard they're working. So again, comparing yourself, there's just no point in doing that. Also, it's important to note that as we're talking about, school and, discipline, etc., you also need to make sure that you're taking the time to take breaks. None of us are robots. None of us can just go, and not have a moment of respite. And so, typically, like what I like to do is my Friday nights, I don't do any homework. Saturday nights, I don't do any homework. And so that kind of gives me my refuel. And I also try to end my days maybe 9:30, 10 o'clock, where I'm like, okay, I'm shutting everything down for the night. I'm not opening my computer. I'm not cracking a textbook. I'm not doing any of that. Because we all just need to reset. And so you should also be applying this to just like eating too. Just maybe take a 30-minute eating break. Don't do it with your homework. Maybe do it by yourself or with somebody, but just taking that time to refuel as well. And then even when you're studying, it's actually psychologically proven that trying to just do like a 6-hour study session without ever moving your eyes away from your notes or your computer, that is not going to be as productive, again, referencing that keyword, than doing your study in 45-minute intervals and taking a 10-minute break, and then coming back to that material. You just want to give your brain an opportunity to just recoup. And same goes with just having fun. Your college experience shouldn't just be all about school. You want to make sure that you're getting plugged into the things that light you up and get you excited, and that you're passionate about. And those come with clubs, making friends, just meeting people. You just have so many resources at your fingertips. And so just making sure that you're really taking advantage of those. Okay. So as we kind of translate into the more, like I said, we're going to get into concrete tips. I'm even going to share an acronym with y'all, a self-invented acronym, might I say. So essentially, I want to just do a quick debrief of what even is procrastination. And so I actually want to feel some audience participation. What is procrastination? Somebody put it in the chat, unmute. I'm not scary. I don't bite. So somebody want to be a volunteer?
Basically, when you put like your responsibilities of stuff you have to do for like the end, like when you don't have time.
Exactly. Sophia, I couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah, it's just pushing stuff off until the last minute, and then you're like forced to reckon with it. And that's just not a position that you want to be in. But the reason that we do this time and time again, even when we're at that last minute and we're like, dang, I'm stressed right now. I'm about to pull an all-nighter, got to go get some coffee. Even though it's a lot of pain when we're in that position, we keep doing it over and over and over and over and over again. And the reason for that is two things. One, we overestimate how much time we actually have. Like I said, time is always fleeing. It is always running away from us. And so when we get an assignment and our teacher says, hey, Billy Bob, this is due in 4 weeks. Make sure you have it turned in. We're like, oh, a month? Pfft, I don't got to think about that. I have more pressing responsibilities. And when we do that, well, 4 weeks is actually not that long. And then we let some weeks pass, and then we end up 5 days before and we're like, shoot, I've had all this time to do it, but I just didn't realize how close it actually was. And so again, that overestimation of time typically gets us in between that rock and a hard place. We're also creatures of immediate gratification. That means I want pleasure now, and I want to postpone pain as much as possible. So typically students find themselves in situations where like, dang, I got a test tomorrow. My friends are holding a party tonight. I want to have fun. I want to smile. I want to be around people. Yeah, we'll just deal with that test later. Because we want the fun in the here and the now. Versus studying is boring. Like I got to sit down. I got to be disciplined. Like nobody wants to do that. And so again, find ourselves pushing stuff off to the last minute. And so kind of what I use to really battle that urge, because I have it too, as robotish as I may sound, like school, time management. You're probably like, dang, I hope this girl has a life. I do. And really what I want you to internalize is do not give up what you want most. I'm gonna let that sit in. What you want most for what you want now. Essentially what I'm saying is, what is your long-term goal? What is your ambition? What are you working towards in the here and now for the future? And so do not let anything in the present, do not compromise that future goal. So you're in school for what? To get a degree, to get your grades, to be successful. And so if you know that going to that party with your friend Billy Bob, yeah, it's gonna be a good time. But if you're gonna flunk your test, well, you gotta weigh those options, because again, that long-term goal should always be the most important thing. And something that you just don't give up, you don't sacrifice. I also want to say one more thing about just like procrastination being the enemy, something that we don't really think about. Even though we're thinking in our head, oh, I'm postponing stress or whatever, you're really not. Essentially, just I am a psych major, so just to flex a little bit. Essentially, what we have is from an evolutionary perspective, the fight or flight response. That's that adrenaline rush, the heart beating, the blood flowing that you get in a really, really stressful situation. Like imagine you might be on the train track and a train is coming. Like that's the kind of fight or flight where I got to run for my life. But that happens on a smaller scale in our everyday life. When we have a test that we're studying for, we're nervous, we're stressed, the same response is triggered, but it's on a smaller scale and it's over a longer period of time. And that's actually more dangerous than, just whatever, well, probably not whatever's about to like get you in the fight or flight moment, but long-term stress is really bad for you because essentially our bodies are not programmed to have our heart beating all the time, palms sweating, blood flowing, to have our, different digestion systems, repressed. That's what happens when we're stressed. And with procrastination, that stress really is always lurking at the back of your mind, because if we think about the holiday plate analogy, I think about me at Christmas time or Thanksgiving or whatever. If I have food on my plate and I just push it to the side, well, if I get, if I want some more food, but I have not eaten what's on my plate and I go put more on there, okay, well, has any of the food disappeared just because I pushed it off to the side? No, my plate is only more full. And I'm like, shoot, like, how am I going to eat all of this? So again, all this to say, procrastination is really not helping you. You're just pushing it to the side of your plate, but it's not actually disappearing. So how about we just eat it a little bit at a time, which is what we're going to get into right now. Okay, so like I said, I keep referencing, I wasn't lying to y'all. We are going to touch on these actual concrete strategies. And so here's my acronym. It is PADSA. PADSA, and we're going to dissect what each letter of that acronym means. So the first one is planner. How many of you have a planner? Just raise your hand with the little reaction thing. How many of you have a planner, know what a planner is? I just want to pull the room. I'm not even asking you to unmute. Just put a reaction up. Okay, cool. So we have some thumbs up. Some no responses. All right, well, by the end, all of us are gonna have thumbs up. Oh, okay, maybe everybody has their thumbs up. Okay, good. Y'all know what a planner is. I practice what I preach, so I have mine right here, easily and accessible. That's my lifeline here at school, y'all. Most important thing is it doesn't have to be paper. It, doesn't have to necessarily be digital. It just needs to work for you. It needs to be a way that you can keep track of everything that's happening in your life. It is a system of organization that does the memorizing for you. You shouldn't have to keep deadlines, appointments, meetings, all that stuff swirling around in your brain. Our memory is limited. Working memory is limited. I keep dropping my psych knowledge. I need to stop. But essentially, let the paper, let the planner, let that do the work for you. Put all of your stuff in there, all the homework that you have to do, everything that's coming up, put it on that paper. And that's first or whatever. I use paper, but like I said, you can use Google Calendar, your notes app, your reminder app. It just needs to work for you, or a combination. I tend to do that as well. And what I'll also say is, my friends will tell you, this might be a little extreme, but I'll still tell you. Freshman year, I had an hour by hour breakdown of my day. And I would literally write on it. I would say from 7 a.m. to 8:30, this is what I'm going to be doing. 8:30 to 9:46, this is what I'm going to be doing. So I literally had every piece of my day, broken out. And to an extent, that is good to know what you're doing when the clock strikes XYZ time. But I also want to caution you guys against that, because things don't always go according to plan. Sometimes things take longer. Sometimes things are shorter. Sometimes you need to account for a bathroom break that I did not do for my fresh. So I'm like, dang, I'm like 20 minutes behind because what have I been doing? So again, do it in moderation. You want to make sure you have an idea of what you're going to tackle when, but you don't want to be too overzealous that you're just stressing yourself out when things don't always go according to plan. And I also want to say that the name of the game in college is BYOB. We're not saying bring your own bottle, people, be your own boss. You get to college and it's you. All you, your mom, your dad, they're at home, you have new teachers, you're just in a new environment. And so Independence is what you need to learn now while you are in high school. For our sophomore on the call, you've got time. For our juniors and seniors, that is the goal. Like by the time you graduate, you want to be able to say, okay, I can manage, my schedule and all of that stuff on my own without my mom or my dad having to call me and be like, hey, Susie, you have a doctor's appointment tomorrow, because that's just not going to be really feasible when you're states away or miles away in college. You want to just get practice with managing yourself right now. All right, assess. That is the next letter of our fancy pads acronym. So assess is really, I find myself in these positions often where I'll just, like I said, case in point, y'all see how written up this is. This is like so many things in my life that I have to do. And so when I look at just my like long, never ending to-do list, I sometimes feel overwhelmed. I'm like, shoot, where do I even begin? I just have so much stuff to do. And so this is where the assess step of PADSA really comes into play. It's to help tackle and cope with those overwhelming feelings. So main things that I want you to think about when you're assessing each task and what to tackle first is let's look at the importance of each task. Are we stressing about something that's 3 weeks away when we have something that's due tomorrow? Okay, well, we know that the thing that's probably due tomorrow that's crept up on you, that should be the most pressing thing in present moment. So you want to look at the deadline. You also want to look at the grade impact. So if you find yourself in a jam and you're like, shoot, I got 2 things to do, and I'm only going to be able to do one of them. You always want to stick with doing the thing that is going to impact your grade the most. Do not, if you are in a jam, do not do the 10% completion math assignment and spend 5 hours doing that when you have your midterm the next day. Like that's just not appropriate. So you want to make sure that you're investing the most time and your best hours doing the things that are the most pressing, so deadline, and also the things that are going to impact your GPA, your grade, etc. the most. You also want to look at, okay, how long do I like, how long are each of these things going to take me? By a certain point in the semester, things get a little, repetitive with your classes. You're like, shoot, I get this same assignment all the time. I know how long this is going to take. You get in a groove. And so assessing that and being like, oh, and literally putting numbers to it. I do this all the time. I look at my work and I'm like, this will take me 2 hours. This will take me about 2.5. This will take me about 30 minutes or whatever. And that will also kind of give you an idea of where to, I call it plug and chug. So during your day, if you know, okay, I'm gonna have a break from 1:30 to 2 p.m. Sometimes I have, let me look at my calendar. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I have two classes that are 30 minutes apart, 4:45 to 5:15. And I know that I can finish my 5 pages of psych notes in those 30 minutes. So that's where I decide to plug it, because I'm like, I always want to, what I have on here, park on the downhill slope. You want to try to reach a point of like finishing by the end of an allotted period of time. So your best thing is if you know, like, to literally try to match up. You have 2.5 hours, try to plug the thing there. If you can, that'll take you 2.5 hours, or that will allow you to reach a reasonable stopping point. Like with a paper, maybe doing up to a certain point, like, the start of, your 4th or 5th paragraph, and then picking up with it at another time. You never want to stop like midway through a problem, midway through an assignment, because then if you think about it, when you come back to the task, you're going to be like, you have to spend time, waste time, trying to figure out, okay, where did I leave off? So you always want to leave off at a really good stopping point. And you also want to assess where and when it's going to be feasible to complete tasks, depending on where you are. And so if you know that you're going to be in a certain building at a certain time, and maybe it's really loud in that building, but you don't have a choice because your class is there or whatever, and you have like 30 minutes before that class, well, maybe do the thing that's gonna, doesn't take as much concentration. Or maybe, you know that you're meeting up with your friend every Tuesday and they want to help you with your math homework. So maybe save your math homework for when you're going to be, with your friends. So you want to just gauge what resources are going to be available for me at XYZ time, and what type of study environment am I going to be in, and is this conducive to what I want to be working on? So that's what you're going to be assessing for. All right, so the D is divide and conquer. I stole my own thunder, plug and chug. So the divide and conquer is actually putting it to paper, putting it inside of your schedule. If you're going to do an hour by hour breakdown or whatever, you just want to make sure that you're writing this stuff down, typing it out, and so that you can see it and hold yourself accountable. Literally put the pen to paper and say, from 5 to 6:30, this is what I'm going to be doing. Just psychologically speaking, that will encourage you more. That will enable you to have more discipline. Something that you're also going to want to think about. As you do this divide and conquer is figuring out what time of day you're most productive. And so those are the things that your harder, more difficult, more challenging tasks, the tasks that take more mental capacity, you're going to want to do those when you have, the most brain power working on your side. And so for me, that's at 6 a.m. in the morning. I just jump out of bed and sit down at my desk and I'm ready to go. That's not everybody. Some people are night owls. They can, crank essays out at 10 o'clock at night, and that's fine. But knowing that about yourself and knowing what are my more challenging subjects and how can I, tackle those in a way that's best for me. And so I typically do that with my French class. I know that takes just a little bit more brain power to learn a new language. And so I try to do that stuff in the morning or the afternoon when I'm more fresh and more awake. You also want to exercise consistency for when you work on certain things. So what I like to do is right after I leave my French class, I like to work on French. I'm already in that mindset. I'm already in that zone. And so my momentum will be able to carry me. I do the same thing with my psychology. I'll literally leave my psychology lecture, go read psychology notes, and then go to my psychology discussion because I'm in that mindset. And so if you can try to be consistent throughout your days of, okay, typically I have, my blocks from 12 to 1:15 on Mondays and Wednesdays, and be consistent about doing French or XYZ or whatever your class is at those times, just because your body is used to that and it'll develop those habits. And also, with long-term assignments, like I said, they feel like they're a long way away when they're really not. And so with those, the name of the game is, as weird as this saying may sound, to eat the elephant a little bit at a time. The elephant is this huge creature, a monstrosity. You probably don't want to actually eat elephant literally. But if you tackle it a little bit at a time, an ear here, a trunk here, a tail here, or whatever, it's no longer going to seem as big. It's not going to seem as daunting. And so that's what you want to do with those long-term projects. You want to figure out what are some little checkpoints that I want to have as that deadline approaches. Maybe by the end of this week, I want to have this done. You just want to constantly be working towards it. And especially with group projects, you got to be proactive. These people are in the same mindset. They're just going to wait for somebody else to get started. And so don't be afraid to be that person that takes the initiative. Like I said, I practice what I preach. I know I have a presentation I keep saying this, psychology, I'm sorry. For psychology next week, I'm going to reach out to my group tomorrow, create the email thread, get phone numbers, and make that contact and say, hey, this is what we're doing. This is when it needs to be done, etc. So don't rely on other people to get a group project going, because then time is just going to escape you and you don't want that to happen. So yes, that's what goes into this divide and conquer step. All right, we're on the downhill slope, y'all. A couple more. So self-discipline. Essentially, this is actually carrying out the paths of process. If you're just, here for tonight and you're just like, oh yeah, Mackenzie, that stuff sounds good, but I'm not going to implement any of this. Well, then you're not going to reap the benefits. So making sure that you're like, okay, I like the way this is sounding. I'm actually going to put it to practice, and be disciplined about that. Hold myself accountable. And also, the same thing goes to your action plan for doing your work. If you said, I'm going to be working on XYZ assignment from 12 to 1:15, and then Billy Bob Joe wants to come and throw you off your game and say, hey, you want to go to the movies right now? Probably shouldn't be going to the movies. You know that you were going to be doing your work, and you're going to regret it later, because then where's that 12 to 1? Where are you going to gain it back? It's going to be subtracted from your sleep, from something else. Something else is going to give. So holding yourself to that. But like I said schedule social time in. Now I'm not saying I am a little rigid. My friends will tell me I'm not the most spontaneous person, but that's because I stick to my action plan. I already don't have a lot of time. And so when I say I'm doing something from 5:15 to 6 o'clock, I don't care if you want to get dinner. I need to do what I have committed to myself. And so hopefully you guys, you don't have to be to the same extreme as me. Maybe it's kind of insulting when they say I'm not spontaneous, but essentially you get the point. You get the point. You want to make sure that you're keeping your word to yourself and honoring that contract, because if you don't, well, then how is anything ever going to get done? It won't. I also want to say you want to identify and eliminate time traps. So essentially what that is, they're your kryptonite. They're the things that distract you the most. So I'm probably going to name a few for you. TikTok, it's a big one. Literally your time is just TikToking away from you. Social media, Instagram, Facebook, just scrolling, swiping. You look at the clock and it's been like 30 minutes. Other things, maybe it's video games for some of y'all. Maybe it's Netflix, a TV show. Maybe it's your friends talking to a family member. I don't know. But whatever your kryptonite is, whatever you're like, dang, if I like give into that, my time is about to just escape me. You need to identify those and you need to eliminate those during grind time. I'm not saying indefinitely, but when you are trying to work, your mind needs to completely be on that task in front of you. And so what I like to do is I like to put my stuff on do not disturb. I put my phone on do not disturb. I put my Mac on do not disturb. And I get, hate for it from my friends. They're like, girl, why'd you fall off the face of the earth for 3 hours? Because I don't want to be distracted by your text. And I don't always want you to find me and distract me in the library. So, making sure that you're just identifying those areas and distancing yourself from it. Maybe that means literally leaving your phone in your backpack and zipping it up and not touching it until you take a break. Or telling your friends like, hey, y'all, I'm going to be at the library. Like, I'm not going to be social. So if you want to come, like, we're not going to be talking. And so I've had to actually have some tough conversations with some of my friends. They're like, because, in college, at least for me, like I said, I'm plugged into a lot of things. And so social is typically the first to go for me. And so I try to earn that time back by studying with my friends, just inhabiting and being in the same space while we, try to do our work together. But some people don't get what it actually means to work in peace. We're not working on the same things. Why do you keep trying to talk to me about, what happened last weekend, the party you're going to tonight? Let's do that when we're not working. Let's do that at lunchtime when we're taking a walk, not right now. So having those tough conversations with your friends and be like, girl or boy, I want to study with you, but you're distracting me. Or just being like, hey, this does not work. We can't study together, but we can hang out together. We can have fun. So just identifying who you can do that with and potentially having to draw the line so that you don't get distracted by these people. It's tough, but sometimes it's got to happen. All right. We're like I said, we're dang, I've just been talking so fast. Geez, y'all better have some questions for me. I really hope. Okay. So affirmation is the last step of the PADS process. And so, like I said, I'm hoping I haven't given off the impression that, dang, this girl just sounds like a workaholic. Like, does she have any fun? Trust me, I do. I went to the movies this past weekend. But what I'm trying to get you to understand is you are not a robot. You shouldn't want to be a robot, and you should not want to be a workaholic. You want to make sure that you are, what? And my advisor told me this, and I should change this slide. It's not rewarding yourself. It's refueling yourself. You're doing what is necessary to play, to relax, to decompress. Those are necessities. Those are not rewards for doing your work. They are things that you must do in order to have energy, fuel to keep doing your work. So, kind of my motto that I try to stick with, sometimes I'm a little rigid, is working hard first. Get your work done first. Don't forget why you're in school, and then play hard, or relax, or play hard encompasses just the things that enable you to decompress and refuel. But your working hard should always be your priority. Don't sacrifice your grades or your school or whatever to just go have fun and let the other stuff fall through the cracks. You also, I kind of alluded to this earlier, you want to break up your studying with brain breaks. So it's not going to be productive for you to just sit and cram for 10 hours, in a long period at the library without like stepping away from your work for like 5-10 minutes and just going somewhere else, literally engaging with your kryptonite. Maybe that's swiping through TikTok, whatever, but turning your brain off and getting away from your work to just have a little refuel and then come back. You trust me, your productivity is going to be enhanced for sure. But caveat, do not let the time get away from you. So if you start going through TikTok and 30 minutes have passed, That's not a brain break. I don't know what that is, but that's not what I'm encouraging you to do. You want to have just those short bursts of, hey, I'm stepping away from my work. And so I like to set timers. I literally like to say, for 10 minutes, 7 minutes, I'm going to do nothing. And then I know when that timer goes off, okay, it's time to get back to my books. And so hopefully you can employ something similar to just keep yourself accountable to what you're doing. I also want to say that if you can't figure something out, if something's just not working, if you've got writer's block, if a problem for math, science, whatever, it's not coming to you, do not just keep looking at it. Do not think the answer is just going to magically pop into your head via some epiphany. It's probably not. And so if that's happening and you just keep staring at it, hoping, wishing that the page just does something different, move on. Do something else. Go to a different problem, go to a different assignment, work on something else, and then come back to it when that mental set has somewhat been alleviated and you can come back with a different perspective. Just don't let time get away from you, hoping, wishing that something is going to change on the page because you're just not getting it at that present moment. So yes, that's super important. Now, this last thing, this is something I'm still a work in progress, y'all. Sleep, okay? We need it. 6 to 7 hours. That's probably not advisable. You want to get like minimum 7. But 7 to 8 is like ideal for our age. But also, I'm not a nappist. I'm pro naps completely. So if you're somebody that's like really tired during the day and you just need like a quick, I just need to close my eyes for like 5 minutes, maybe not 5 minutes, like a nap is a nap. Just get in the bed, get on your couch or whatever, and get a nap, get that refuel so that you can be productive for the rest of the day. Because again, sleep is extremely, extremely, extremely crucial. I also want to say, do not. I am a culprit with this. Try to power through your work when you're tired. Too many times I find myself trying to read my textbook for a class in my bed. I know what I'm doing. I know I'm about to fall asleep, yet I still try to do it time and time again. And I fall asleep with my laptop on me, fall asleep with my homework in my bed or even at my desk. Like it gets bad. And so if you're tired, go to bed, wake up tomorrow and figure it out. We're trying to be productive, sustainable, and literally just like staring at your work and trying to study when you're tired. You're not making the fruitful gains that you would make if you were fully awake and ready to tackle that assignment. I also want to say something that I forgot to mention earlier, but it's pretty important to say is eating the elephant a little bit at a time. That does not just apply to big group projects or big deadlines that are like 10 weeks away. That can also apply to a test or a quiz that's at the end of the week. I'm trying to tell you guys these psychology principles. I'm learning memory strategies right now. Is you are going to perform the best on that test, not if you cram, not if you spend 10 hours the night before trying to put that information in your head, but actually if you study and rehearse that material over several spaced out periods. And so, like I said, if the test is at the end of the week, start on Monday, start 7 days before, 4 days before, depending on, how nervous or whatever you feel about it. Maybe you need to start a little bit prior. But just cramming, it's actually not doing the benefit that you think it will. And especially when you get into college and we have what's called cumulative exams, where it's testing you over everything over the course of the semester, you want to make sure that stuff at the beginning of the year is staying in your long-term memory, that you can recall it at the end of the semester, and you're not just like, dang, I crammed and now everything is gone. Like, I just knew it for the test and I don't know it now. And so just being very strategic about tackling even studying is extremely important as well. With that, y'all, this is the end of the presentation. I want to do a quick plug for my academic resource. So I have a YouTube channel called Mac School Prep TV. You can find it here. www.macschoolprep.com is my website. If you're like, dang, I really like this girl, you can go watch me on YouTube. You can contact me via my website, get a hold of me like that. Watch a ton of videos of me talking in depth about these academic strategies and tips that I've just talked about today, kind of breaking that down in a less rushed, frantic presentation. So yeah, that's a plug for that. I also have college stuff on there. So those of you who are applying to college, doing test prep, anything you could think of, scholarships, that is the place. But I finished with 10 minutes to go. So I'm encouraging you guys to ask questions. It does not just have to be about time management. It can be about anything, but I'm opening the door now. I'm not scary, I promise. I really like social interaction. So please ask me questions. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, you can drop them in the chat. You don't have to unmute if you don't want to. Okay, let me look. Please, somebody be the first part. Break the silence. Be the trailblazer for your peers.
Someone did ask. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, okay, sorry. Do you have any advice on like when should we start studying for like the SATs as juniors, and like how many months should like we plan like ahead before studying?
Yeah, that's a great question, Kim. So I actually took a test prep course the summer before my junior year, and I took my first, and it was continuing into my junior year. So I probably took my first test, maybe November. And so my recommendation is now. Now is the time. You don't have to necessarily take a test prep course. I have resources on my website for going through how to do well on your SAT. There is a Super Tutor TV. That's a YouTube channel that a lady goes and she talks about a bunch of how to do well on those standardized tests. There are Princeton review books, Kaplan review books, stuff that you can order from Amazon. But I would say now, because you do not want to find yourself your senior year taking tests. Like that should really be for applying to college, filling out your applications, and you don't want to have that other thing weighing on you.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, I see some questions coming in through the chat. Okay, Carolina. I hope I'm saying that right. Maybe it might be Carolina. I don't know. I'm just going to answer your question. Yeah, any tips for applying to the Robertson Scholar Program? So I am a Robertson Scholar, and yeah, I would say that it is important to build out a resume. I don't know what year are you? Let me look.
Senior.
You're senior. Okay. I believe they have a high school application process. I don't know when that's due. I want to say they are. Have you been applying right now? Or are you trying to do it when you get into college? Are you wanting to come to school?
Applying now.
Okay. Have you already submitted your application?
I have not.
Okay. Okay. I just wanted to get an idea of where you were in the process. So full disclosure, I applied to Robertson Scholar Program when I was in high school, did not even get a call back for an interview. And so what I realized when I went and looked at the essays that I submitted then and what I submitted now is cater the stuff that you talk about in the essay prompts to what it is that they are looking for. Not change your experiences, but use experiences, elaborate upon experiences that show, that exemplify the qualities that they're looking for in the candidates that they admit to the program. So those are the things that you should be talking about. So if they're looking for leaders, okay, so the things that you talk about, the experiences that you share should touch on leadership, should touch on community service, engagement, should show that you're a person that's willing to learn, collaborative. Shed light on all those things and use the buzz terms, like use them. I recycle words from the website, put them in my essays because I'm not playing with these people. I want them to know that I'm embodying that person. So I would say that's the best thing for getting through that first round of applications when you're writing your essays. And then also with interviews and stuff, you can contact me directly from my website about this stuff, but just being yourself. They try to rattle you in the interviews and try to ask you pressing questions and just like intimidate you. Being yourself and being confident is the best thing. And that's just applicable to any interview setting. So yeah, I hope that's helpful.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Jocelyn said, any tips on deciding which college/university to go to? So I applied to 18 universities, got into, I want to say 13, waitlisted at 3, rejected from 2. And so I had a lot going on where I was like, shoot, I got to choose from 13 schools. I would say when you are applying, do not have a list of 18 schools. I don't know what I was doing, but I was stressed. And I was like, oh my gosh, how am I supposed to write essays for all of this? And I'm supposed to do school, a full course load and everything else. It wasn't a fun time. So literally have a list, max like 10, but really like 8. Like 8 is probably the hot spot. And make sure that they're all schools that you have like truly a possibility of saying yes to, and that you can see yourself at. And that, can mean a lot of different things. Maybe you place a premium on athletics. Do they have sports teams? Is it a D1 school? Maybe you place a premium on, close, tight-knit community in a classroom. What's their teacher to student ratio? How many students do they have per class? Maybe you want to be close to home. Okay. Is this a place that you can easily access? Can you drive there? Can your parents fly in? Is it a 15-minute drive from the airport? Thinking about things like that. Also, what type of environment do you want to be in? Do you want rural? Do you want urban? Do you want small city? Do you want hustle and bustle? So thinking about the things that are important to you and then narrowing your list, to fit those, I would say is the best thing for choosing. And also go where the money calls. Okay, we call it college ain't free and it's expensive. So of your 8, if somebody is offering you a dang good package, you probably want to go there. Okay, let's look. What were your stats and extracurriculars? I want to say 1540 on my essay. Yeah, I'm like 15. I want to say 1540. I can check my website. It's been a while. 1520, 15. I want to say 1540. 1540 on my SAT. And then in high school, I had my own academic achievement club that I founded. I ran that for 3 years, and essentially basic same stuff. But imagine little sophomore through senior year Mackenzie talking to the incoming freshmen and really helping them kind of get their bearings and apply and get their footing in a new rigorous academic environment. So I did that. I was vice president of Hispanic Honor Society, president of National Honor Society. I played competitive soccer, and then I was the salutatorian of my class. So those were my the things I was plugged into in high school. Let me see. Any tips on Common App essays? Yes, I will say I'm going to answer that question now as brief version as I can, but go to my YouTube channel. I have like 3 videos all about that. So you're going to get the meat from there. But main things I would say is 1, be yourself. They don't want anybody but you. And so if that means using, y'all, if that means using fun grammar, syntax structures, something that brings your personality and your character to life and that is fun to read. Think about the thousands and thousands of applications that they're reading. Do not let yours just be like another one that they come across. Wake them up with whatever that you're writing about. You want them to be like, dang, I read that essay and I'm going to remember that when I go home and I'm going to talk to my significant other about that. Like, that's the kind of writing that you want to submit. Talk about an experience that's exciting. And that's going to leave an impression, because the thing is your essays, they are you. They do the advocating for you. Half the time you don't even get an interview. I didn't get an interview for Duke. And so what they knew about me was what I wrote. And you want to make sure that whatever you submit to them makes you as close to a 3D person as possible. You also want to ensure that the stuff that you write, it fits the bill of what they're looking for. Go to their website, see the type of student that they admit to these schools. They have the pillars on the website, even the universities, not just scholarship programs, and talk about experiences that allow you to shed light on that. You want to make it explicit in their eyes that you're undeniable. Like, dang, that girl, that boy, they have what we want. And the last thing is, and like I said, you can check my website for more detail. But for the why us essays, where like the school is saying like, hey, why you want to come to Duke or wherever, please make it unique. Like, just don't recycle stats. Like, do not be like, I really like you because you have an 8-to-1 student teacher ratio. No school wants to read that. So make it personal. Talk about a class, talk about a professor you want to meet, talk about an opportunity that is specific and unique to that school. They're gonna be like, dang, okay, the student actually really wants to come here. And this is not just another, one of a million schools that they're applying to and just trying to get into. So those are my top three points. Okay, I'm sorry I'm talking so fast, y'all. I'm trying to get through all of y'all's questions. Okay, when you think about a safety school, also that's not y'all. Okay. I know, I was like, huh? Oh, okay. Wait, okay, I think that might be everything. I think so. Okay. All right. I'm happy y'all engaged
Awesome.
with me. I appreciate that.
Yeah, y'all have some great questions.
were great.
As we kind of wrap up, if you have any last questions, we definitely have time for maybe one more. So definitely feel free to either unmute yourself or drop it in the chat. But Mackenzie, in the meantime, thank you so much for joining us. Oh, I just realized we're still recording. I'm gonna stop the recording. They don't